a new episode of the Bedtime podcast. My name is King Kong. Back at it again with a new episode. As always, I'm joined by Babby. Rawr. We have a slam dunk episode, as always. Week 2 of our Simian summer marathon, which is going to last all summer, probably. I think that's the plan. If you are interested in the schedule and where you can find everything, it's in the description and the show notes. This week we're talking about King Kong, but we'll get there when we get there. First, as always, we have to talk about what's going on in the world news-wise. Starting off with gaming, as always, because we have some gaming stuff. I think the big thing was the Nintendo Direct. I think I even said in the last episode, which, by the way, the last episode was actually recorded a week before. So,
Gotcha.
Yeah, it was a prank. I'm sure that we said some things that were like, wait, that already happened or something. But I forgot to upload it, and then I was busy, and I'm just like, hey, you know what? Screw it. We're just going to take a week off and then have that episode fill in. So, we haven't recorded anything in 2 weeks. And I think I even said, like, yeah, the only thing that's missing is a Nintendo Direct because everyone else is gone. And then, like, a couple days later, Nintendo's like, yeah, the new Direct is coming out tomorrow at like 7 a.m. or something, our time. And I'm like, oh, okay, perfect. So we can talk about that a little bit. I did see some, like, it was funny because they were like, this is our summer Direct focusing on games for the rest of 2024 and then the beginning of 2025. The successor to the Switch will not be included, which I think when a lot of people saw that, that was like, oh, so this is going to be a really weak one. Because, like, why would they drop, like, a bunch of, like, highly anticipated stuff in the Direct that doesn't announce the Switch 2's release? Which is a fair point. But what is also important to note is that Nintendo doesn't make any decisions that make sense. So, of course, they like have a bunch of stuff that everybody was asking for. A new Zelda, a new Mario and Luigi game, like a new Metroid Prime. Like they just like slammed this Direct full of stuff that people have been waiting on. And I mean, I kind of respect it. It's kind of cool that they're like, yeah, whatever. I guess the Switch is going to go out with a bang. Or I've been seeing some people say that some of these games are going to be like Breath of the Wild was back when that came out, where it was on Wii U and Switch. But maybe Metroid Prime is going to be one of those where it's on the Switch and the Switch 2 or whatever they call it. The Swatch. And then it's all color themed, like the Game Boy Color. Swatch. No, that doesn't make sense. I don't think that's
Switch. It's a Switch and Wii combination.
Oh, they should do that. Just add another I.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. Switch. We should trademark that so that Nintendo doesn't get that
They have
opportunity.
to pay us $5 million.
Yeah, we're scalpers.
We get royalties.
See, that sounds like a good idea, but I don't have money. And not enough money to trademark Switch. But we could get the domain name for pretty...
True.
I don't... Switch. What would we put on Switch.com?
I don't know.
Nothing?
We could just hold that hostage.
Yeah, that's true. We could do like just the picture of the two black guys kissing or something.
That's true.
Yeah, that's a good image, I think.
We can do the one where it's like Mario and Sonic kissing.
Oh,
that'd be
that's a good idea. So, actually, let me check right now if Switch is owned by anybody. Switch.com.
If they actually do Switch, it'd be the dumbest move.
It would be, but it would...
Ain't nobody gonna call it a Switch.
I will. That's funny. Okay, yeah, I don't think the website exists because it's been like loading for a very, very long time. So I don't think Switch is a registered website, unfortunately. But I guess let's dive in to what came out. I mean, I pretty much said everything that they announced that I was at least somewhat interested in. Um, I guess we'll start with new Mario and Luigi. I think that was the first one. I didn't watch it, but that was the first one I saw. Mario and Luigi has kind of been a dead franchise. Kind of interesting. It's a weird franchise, I will say, because like of the descendants of Super Mario RPG on the Super Nintendo, like its direct descendant is Paper Mario, and then on the DS there was Mario and Luigi. Both of those are franchises that are Mario RPGs. So I guess when it was like everything was on the Switch, they went away from having portable and home console releases. They're just like, oh, well, let's just focus on Paper Mario so that it doesn't really matter. This Mario and Luigi stuff doesn't matter. And I guess people were upset. I haven't really thought about that franchise in a long time. But they were like, yo, we're coming back. So we're getting more Mario RPG fun stuff. And the art direction looks crazy. Like it looks really fluid and dynamic. For a turn based game, they really went all out in the visual department. Very stylized in that Nintendo polish kind of way. So that could be pretty promising. I think that's coming out this year, like not too far away either. So pretty cool. Talk about New Zelda, I guess. I didn't even write down what it's called. I just wrote New Zelda, New Mario and Luigi on Metroid Prime 4 because I'm a good journalist, I guess. Um, but the new Zelda is interesting because, well, I don't know if interesting is the right word. It's just the first Zelda game where Zelda, well, that's not true. It's the first mainline Zelda game where Zelda is the main playable character. Now, you may ask yourself, why did I have to correct myself? Because this is not the first game that Zelda is the main character. That honor goes to one of the Zelda CDI games, whether it's Wand of Gamelon or the other one. In one of those games, you play as Zelda, the famous Zelda CDI games. Everyone knows the Link one because of bombs and the king.
Bombs?
Yeah, but the other one, you play as Zelda, and that's the first one. Or maybe there was a Zelda game and watch. I don't care. But this is the first one that Nintendo has made, anyways, that Zelda's the main character, and people are excited. I think that I don't care. I don't really care who I play as, like whether they want to gender swap Link or whatever. I don't care about any of that. Um, I will say the gameplay doesn't look very fun. Um, to me, it doesn't even really feel like a Zelda game, which I guess I don't even know what that means anymore. Because Zelda was a very like formulaic kind of franchise where every game was pretty much the same game over and over again. That sounds like a bad thing, but I mean, it's one of my favorite franchises. Um, and now it's like exploded into whatever it is. With Breath of the Wild completely changing it up, and then Tears of the Kingdom changing it up even more, turning it into Banjo Kazooie, nuts and bolts. And it's just like, oh, okay, what even is Zelda now? Because it's like the main kind of structure is there, but like the moment to moment gameplay feels very different. And then they're just like, okay, we're gonna go complete left field, and it's like you can copy objects and place objects and uh, capture enemies and have them fight for you. It's like a very different kind of like gameplay. And I will say, I'm a little disappointed that this is the first one that Zelda is playable in, because I think that we should have like a mainline traditional style, not even like, not like that, but I mean like this is like a big budget Tears of the Kingdom, whatever, that Zelda's playable. Like make it just like the same game that Link would be in, but have it be Zelda. Um, because I don't know. I feel like that makes sense, but I don't know. I don't know. It's like that Princess Peach game that came out. It's like I just want. I mean, I like that Peach is a playable character in most Mario games now, and that she's unique and feels different. But I'm like, I don't really know what that Princess Peach game was, but it didn't really seem like my kind of game. So yeah, people are excited about it. I don't want to yuck anyone's yum, but it doesn't seem like my kind of game, and that's fine. So pretty cool. Also, it's in the Link's Awakening, uh, the remake, that art style, which I don't think it's technically cell shaded, but I am kind of tired of Nintendo cell shading everything. It's like it's all starting to kind of look the same. Um, so yeah, I don't know. But Metroid Prime 4 looked pretty interesting. I've never really been a Metroid fan. I did just pick up Metroid Prime for my GameCube, so I will probably be playing that. I don't know if that's the version I should play, or if I should do the remaster for the Switch or even the Wii version. But yeah, it looks interesting. I mean, I'm a fan of like more a fan of like what Metroid kind of spawned with like Metroidvanias. I love a good Metroidvania, but I've never really been a fan of the Metroid franchise itself. Um, so I don't know. People are pumped, and I feel like I should bring it up because people are excited. But hooray! All right, now let's talk about something sad. I guess it's sad or disappointing. I guess we'll see what happens. I don't know. Ah, jeez. Got a timer that just went off on my computer. I apologize for that. I don't know what that was. It was like,
Wake up.
I guess. I don't
I've been in
know.
a coma for 17 years.
Sorry if that freaked you out, everybody.
I'm glad it freaked you out.
Oh, okay. Well, the
I hope
duality of
nobody
man.
was driving.
Yeah, that would have been bad because then it was like, wait, why is my phone going off? And they're like, they have it mounted and they're like looking at it and then they get into a car accident.
I am not liable.
I I am, but I already said sorry. So that's you know,
That's advisable in court.
yeah, that's evidence that it isn't my fault. They should have their phone in their pocket.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the
Listening to the
stance.
Bedtime podcast.
Of course, that's the stance I'm going to make. Is that you shouldn't have your phone out while you're on the car. Don't have it in a cup holder or in one of those mount things that you attach to the air conditioning. Just keep it in
I
your
actually
pocket.
throw mine in the trunk
That's a good
and I
idea.
can't reach it.
That's actually a great idea. How do you pick what music plays though?
CarPlay.
Oh, okay. So you're fancy. Okay. I wondered if you had one of Spotify's car things.
No, even if I did, I wouldn't be able to use it since they discontinued all of them.
Of course. Yeah. People were very upset about that. I forgot those existed.
My
And
girlfriend had one. It's really
oh,
cool.
is
It
it?
just died.
I saw
Can't
that
use
they
it.
were like issuing refunds to some people.
Oh, are they?
I think
Oh,
so.
to some people.
I'm not sure. I saw that they were like walking back on that. We're like, oh, y'all are upset that we just discontinued
Yeah,
this.
just like blew up a device.
Oh, maybe we'll give you money back. So maybe look into it. We
I
just
will.
this is very off topic for what
Whatever.
we're going to be talking about. But at this point, it's old news. But I thought that as someone who knows a little bit about the history of movies and theaters and business, that side of it, I thought it would be interesting to talk about the Sony acquiring Alamo Drafthouse Cinema. It's a reasonably small theater chain, to be fair, but this is I think this sent off a lot of alarm bells in people. when it was announced. I saw a lot of people that were like, people who like movies, please let me know if I should be excited or upset by this. Um, I will say, I was kind of shocked that they let that happen, because there's like a law in the books that specifically about this thing where it shouldn't be allowed to happen, because basically how it was in like the 20s and 30s was movie studios owned theaters. There were no like movie theater chains. It was it horizontal integration? You know more about this than I do.
Correct.
Horizontal integration, you're owning all of the means of like your business, all like the distribution and the manufacturing, like you're owning everything. And so that's how it was in the
Actually, I think
20s.
that's vertical. Horizontal would be buying out competitors.
Vertical. It's
Yes.
vertical integration, whatever. Basically, they owned the making the movies, and then they owned which theaters would play them because they were specifically branded theaters. So you would go to a Paramount theater or a like an MGM theater. I don't know if RKO. I think RKO entered a little bit later. Um, but that was how it was for a very, very long time. And then there was a specific law that was passed in the 40s that was like, yo, this seems weird and like y'all are having like a monopoly on this. Let's cut that out. And basically broke up all of the theaters and distributed them to other people, sold them to private whatever. So now we have theater chains, and none of them are owned by studios. Well, none of them before a couple weeks ago. Geez, stop going timer. Why is there a timer? Stop doing this timer.
I don't know why there'd be a
I
timer.
don't know why there's timers. This is the worst. Uh, okay. Well, I'll try to figure that out and to talk about this. Um, okay. Stop the timer. Okay. I don't. It was going a timer of every. It said it was set to every 21 minutes. I don't know how that happened.
Why?
I don't know. It hasn't even been 21 minutes since it went off last time. Okay, I just got a new computer and everything is a little wonky, so I apologize again for another timer going off. I really hope that they can hear it, and I don't.
I don't know if they'll be able
I
to.
don't know. I really
I hope they
not.
don't, because then we'll just look crazy.
Yeah, that's true. So sorry about that either way, I guess. Um, but anyways, so yeah, theaters were never not owned by studios, and that kind of makes it so that theaters are kind of neutral. They basically want to show as many movies as possible, and so they're accepting movies from every single studio. It isn't like, well, it like kind of is like Disney buys theaters. It's kind of where it's like if you let's not get into the nitty gritty. Let's do it basic. Um, where it's like, okay, that's how it should be. Theoretically, you want equal playing field for all of the movies in the theater to have an equal shot. You don't want like, you know, a bunch of the theaters playing just Disney movies when Paramount and MGM and RKO or whatever, just I'm just saying all the studios are making movies. You don't want that because that's not fair. And what we love here is fair, honest capitalism in America. Um, and now it might be a little bit weird. Now that Sony owns a theater chain, now we might be slipping back into where we were in the 20s and 30s, where what if Alamo Drafthouse just plays Sony movies? And in some places, I'm pretty sure. Now, I will, I will say, most people might not know that Alamo Drafthouse is a theater because it's a very, very small theater chain. They also do a lot of stuff like Vinegar Syndrome or oh, what's the other one? I can't think of it. but basically where they like restore and find old B movies and then do a wide release. Alamo Drafthouse, I think their biggest one is that they found Miami Connection. So they do good work. But they also have a theater chain where they play those movies and also like regular, they do a mix of like, oh, well, what's coming out now and the weirdo B movies that we find in trash cans or whatever. And so I don't know, like, I don't know if like this buyout is going to specifically like kind of infringe on that where it's like, oh, Alamo Drafthouse just playing Sony movies. That's not going to affect a lot of people. It's not even probably going to change what they're playing a whole lot because they don't play that many movies. At least to my understanding. I've never been to one, but yeah, I don't think that this specific is going to cause a bunch of issues, but it does open the door for Disney to buy AMC or Amazon MGM to buy Fridley or something. I'm just, you know what I'm saying? It opens the door for a bunch of spooky and scary Monopoly stuff, which is not good for people who like movies.
I mean, that's what streaming's doing.
I know that's what streaming's doing. I'm just saying, like, in the theater space, it's not looking good. So if that was one of your questions on Twitter, and you were like, I don't know if I should be scared or excited, I would be scared. Yeah, both. I don't care.
Embrace the chaos.
Embrace the chaos. But that's where this is going. That's what this is opening the door for. So there you go. There you go, a little movie history lesson for you. And news, because that's happening right now. All right, let's move on to fun stuff. Fun in quotation marks, because we're talking about, I'll just say it, a weird grouping of movies. Because I was going to watch all movies where a big monster destroys the city. But I found out something that I already knew deep about myself, that I hate every single one of those movies. So I did not want to do that for a whole week, which turned into 2 weeks. So I watched other things, but I did watch 2. But we'll talk about the Simian summer one first. King Kong. And no, I'm not talking about the Peter Jackson one or the one where he beats up Godzilla with an axe and then Mechagodzilla shows up, or the one where he uses his like baby son as a baseball bat against another ape, which I think was in the newest one. We're talking about the original one from the 30s. 1933. And I wanted to watch this one, because it's on my huge movie poster, which is in the background of all of my of the videos in Boytime, our main channel. Check it out. I'm sure more people, most people are already familiar.
I would imagine so, but I'm sure there's one person out there that doesn't know we have a main channel.
We have a main channel. Go check it out. We talk about music, react to music.
It's smaller than this show.
Yeah. But it is on my poster back there, so I'm trying to get through as many of those as I can. But also, this movie has a pretty good reputation and has a legacy that people still talk about it as being one of the best. Okay, here's the thing. It's on AFI's top 100 horror movies of all time. Let me ask you, Babby. I know you may not be familiar with AFI, but what do you think in 1 to 100 King Kong rated on that list?
100.
Oh, actually, you couldn't be farther. It's number 1. That's why I was like, whoa. I looked it up. I was like, okay, I need to do some research about this movie when it, you know, context. Is it racist? You know, basic questions. And I saw that and I'm like, really? That list was posted like 10 years ago. Is is it really the best horror movie of all time? No. No, frankly, it's not even in the top 100. I don't even know if I would put it in the top 500. It's
I'm
kind of
becoming of the belief that most things are rage bait and just for clicks.
maybe, maybe. I don't think nobody cares about AFI. Nobody's like AFI is doing this.
That's why they got to file out.
I guess so. I guess so. Let me see if I can find it. Because AFI, they're the American Film Institute. They're like hoity-toity. Oh, okay, that's not even the case anymore.
Oh, the
King Kong is.
societal connotations of this make it truly terrifying.
Well, that's what I was like. Really? Like it's an
Yeah.
artsy? People are like that. Now it's not. When was this list? This is for right now. It says number one is Psycho, which I actually think is a pretty good pick. King Kong is now 12.
Hmm.
Still top 20.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty good. Although, hold on, because this. Okay, I don't think this list is horror movies because Chinatown is number 16 and that's a film noir. So I don't know what's going on. North by Northwest is number 4. Okay, this is a bunk list.
Whoever made the list is just really xenophobic and really scared of monkeys.
That could be. Like Raiders of the Lost Ark. Okay, this list. I'm throwing it in the trash. This is not a horror movie list. Okay. Anyways,
I'm
at
glad we
one
figured
point, yeah. Well, I was like, oh, it's number 1. Okay. So that was why I was like, oh, maybe I'll check it out. We'll see if it's the best horror movie I've ever seen. Uh, I don't think so. Uh, and I will say this. I know everybody knows this movie because of the big ape swinging at some like old World War One propeller planes on the Empire State Building with a blonde lady in his hand. I'll let you in on a little secret before you watch this movie. King Kong is only in New York in the last 10 minutes of the movie. That's a little secret from me to you. So now you don't have to watch this movie and think, oh, this is going to be a fun monkey rampage through the city type movie. Nope. In fact, about half of the movie, King Kong's not even in it. So right off the bat, we're subtracting 5 monkey points, which of course is the great rating
the most
system.
important scale.
The most important scale for this
I
marathon.
can't wait for Space Chimps to have the highest monkey rating.
Space Chimps isn't on here. Maybe I'll have it be week
It should
11.
be.
I'll have it be week 11. Why not?
You gotta have some animation in there.
Every
To
time,
round it out.
every week, I'm adding more. This is going to be the longest marathon ever.
It's the
Mainly,
year of the monkey.
I keep finding movies. Like, I was watching just like some review for a movie the other day, and it was like, remember the chimp? There's a chimp in like 30 seconds of that movie. And I'm like, oh, that would be great for the Simian summer. And I'm like, no, wait, stop. I don't need to add all these monkey movies, but I should add Space Chimps because I want to watch that one. I haven't seen it since I was a wee
Awful.
boy. You remember it being bad?
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember it being one of those like where you go to your local Blockbuster and they have like the discount like kids animation section.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember those.
Yeah. I also watched Alpha and Omega, which is maybe the worst movie I've ever seen in my life.
Did we do a
You should watch that
commentary
one.
on that?
I don't think we did because I probably didn't want to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if I've ever seen it.
It's awful.
Well, maybe I'll watch it one day. I don't know if there's an
When we
ape
do
in
Wolf
there.
Week, we can do that.
Okay. Wolf marathon.
It's just gonna be Wolf of Wall Street and Alpha and Omega.
That's gonna be a short marathon. There's not many movies that have wolves in them,
No,
unfortunately. Maybe like this does The Revenant. I feel like that would have wolves in
that's a
it.
bear.
Oh, that's bear. I don't know. We'll get to it in our. I was trying to think of like the scientific name for wolves, but I don't know what that is. Lupus.
Lupus.
Lupus
We'll
week.
go with that. That's very different. Whatever.
Whatever, it's fine. But back to the King Kong. Yeah, he's barely in it, and half of the movie is they're on a boat. They're on a boat for half of the movie, and the basic story is that there's this director, and keep in mind this was the 30s, and basically there were directors that went around and shot like nature footage, and then that would play like before features. Like remember in Up, that famous scene, the very beginning of Up. There's like newsreel footage, and then
Forget it.
yeah, and then the actual movie starts. That's how things would happen. Like Looney Tunes would be like a little 5-minute short playing before you watch the new Charlie Chaplin joint or whatever. I think that's kind of the vibe. This guy was shooting nature footage, so I guess while you're waiting to see Citizen Kane or whatever, you're like, oh, a rhino. And that's what this guy did. And he apparently everyone loved him. He was a household name because
It
he shot
seems really good.
this movie.
Just like having that before any movie.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I guess
It's better than watching 15 minutes of AMC ads.
well, that's true. The Nicole Kidman ad plays for 3 minutes. You could have had some
Well, I like that
monkey
one, but
footage.
every other one.
Yeah. I don't, yeah, there used to be like news. It would be like news and then like a cartoon. And then I don't, there probably were other things. I just know that those were like the two big ones. It would be like 20 minutes before the movie. Instead of like all the trailers, it would just be that. And then the movie started, which was like an hour. So I guess it kind of evened out to, how long most people stay in movie theaters today. Um, but anyways, as a director for one of those, and he's getting ready to go on a voyage because I think a Norwegian explorer he was talking to was like told him about a secret island where there's a big monster named King Kong and he should shoot it for his next picture. And he's like, all right, that's great. I'm going to get a blonde girl to come in here and then I'll shoot her with the monster. And that's going to be my hit film. He didn't really come in with a script. I guess you can't really script stuff like that. You shoot the moment. Which, was infinitely harder to do a century ago with like an old crank camera. But, he made do. He made do. And it took a crew of like 50 people to do it. But that's fine. But basically, like half of the movie is like just them on the boat, and then it's just like her getting acting lessons, and then there's this one guy on the boat who's I guess maybe like the first mate or something, and he's like, "Oh, I don't like women on boats. They're distracting to the men. I hate women." And then the girl is like, "Oh, you don't really hate women. I wanna have sex with you." And he's like, "Okay, I will do it." And then they kind of fall in love. Um, Kind of a weird plot. We'll be talking about this a little bit later with another movie I saw, but I don't get why the romance this angle was in it at all. It's so weird where he's like, "I
We
hate
need
women."
romance.
I guess it's just I don't like that because it all of the women in it are just like attracted to these people that hate women, and it doesn't really make any sense. And it would be like one thing if it's like today where like women get with guys that hate women, but they don't like outwardly say like I hate women. They should be, well, actually sometimes they do say that. I hate women, they should be subservient to men. It's just like in little actions that they do where they view women as lesser. But this dude's just straight up like women are worse than men and everything, and I think they have no place in our society. And she's like, "Oh, do me now." I
He's
love
the
you.
real King Kong.
He really is. The worst part about this movie is that he doesn't die, but I
Free.
guess, yeah. But yeah, there's this love angle, and then they get to the island, and there's a bunch of native people, which that should be sending off red flags in everybody's head right now.
I'm sure they do a very respectful job.
They were very respectful to indigenous peoples, and that they showed them all as backwards and doing like a sacrificial thing where they were sacrificing virgins to King Kong so that King Kong wouldn't destroy them. Um, which here's another layer that I hope AFI caught when they made this number one horror movie of all time. In that this movie it's blatantly racist. In that, um, basically King Kong, I don't know what he does to these virgins. I don't know. Maybe he eats them. I hope he doesn't have sex with them. That would be very unpleasant. And I don't know how that would be possible. But I guess it could happen. It could happen. It was the 30s, pre Hays Code, which we'll get to. There's important stuff with the Hays Code, which we talked about in a horror movie marathon that we did like last year. So you should remember. But um, yeah, so he has all these virgins that are natives, and then I guess he kills them all. I'm assuming we never see like when he takes the blonde lady, because spoilers, he takes the blonde lady to his cave. We never see any alive like native people, so I'm assuming that he kills them, or at least he doesn't feed them and they die, which I guess could be a thing. But he's a big ape. I'm imagining he's killing these ladies. I think the film values the white blonde lady way more than it does the native lady, because ladies, I guess, because the monkey doesn't kill the blonde lady and is in fact infatuated with her and thinks that she's very beautiful, whereas the native ladies are disposable. I'm just gonna throw that out there that is very much what the movie is intending, and therefore should not be on the list of best horror movies of all time. Frankly, it shouldn't even be top 13 of the bunk movie list that has Raiders of the Lost Ark as a horror movie. I don't know how you do that. But anyways, it, yeah, I don't really care. The rest of the movie is pretty boring, where it's like, oh no, they have the lady, and then the crew chases King Kong, and then King Kong like knocks a bunch of them off a log into a pit, and then they croak. And it's funny because they're just throwing dummies off cliffs, and that's kind of cool. I guess the only point that's like pretty positive is the stop motion animation's pretty good. Um, I looked it up because I don't know a whole lot about Ray Harryhausen. I know that he is very, very influential in the field of animation. A lot of the animators coming out of the 80s, 90s, and 2000s spoke nothing but praise about him. He even is an Easter egg in Monsters Inc. Mike takes his girlfriend Cecilia to Harryhausen's, the sushi joint. It's a little tip of the cap, a little nod to one of the old legends. And I was like, is this a Harryhausen movie? No, he wasn't active until the 60s. So I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. But it's pretty good. The monkey is pretty brutal, which I guess you want. For some reason, the island has dinosaurs. It's dinosaurs and a monkey and native people. I don't know how they got there. Okay, I need to stop doing this. I always like, oh, how does this happen? Like I'm a scientist or whatever. I'm dumb. Anyways, yeah, they basically knock King Kong out with a big grenade, and then they take him to New York, and then a bunch of people do flash photography, and that makes him angry, and he breaks out of his restraints and grabs the blonde lady, goes up to the Empire State Building. A bunch of planes gun him down, and then he takes a tumble, falls down, and then the director was like, aha, it was beauty that killed the beast, which is the most inaccurate statement I've ever heard in my whole life, because the lady just sat there on the top of the building and didn't do anything. And meanwhile, the planes were going around with their machine guns, and they're the thing that actually killed King Kong. So I don't even know. I don't even know what the symbolic, like, what is that even supposed to be implying? Because it wasn't like she did anything. She just got kidnapped, and then King Kong set her down on the top of the Empire State Building while he tried to smash some planes. And then the director was like, this has deeper meaning, where beauty killed the beast. It's dumb. And anyone who thinks that this is deep or implies anything, beyond surface, you're dumb. And you should stop looking at movies critically. And King Kong should not be on any AFI list or any list. It sucks. And I'm not just saying that because I'm predisposed to not like big monster movies, although that probably does play a part in it. So, anyways, that's the King Kong. Unfortunately, King Kong is pretty prevalent in the later half of the film, and he does do some monkey action. Therefore, this movie gets more monkey points than The Jungle Book 2016 just by one. It gets 5 out of 10 monkey points. So, if you're keeping track at home, which I hope you are, The Jungle Book got 4 out of 10 and King Kong got 5. Will 12 monkeys next week have higher or lower monkey points? We will see. I suspect, well, given the title, we should have 12 times as many monkey points, or at least you would think. But I suspect that there are actually going to be no monkeys in this movie because I think it's a time travel loop movie. But monkeys should be involved because the title says 12 monkeys. So here's hoping. But that's for next week. Time to talk about another big monster destroys a city movie. The other one I watched was Rodan. I think it's technically a kaiju movie. It's at least made by the same studio that made Godzilla, the original one. I have it has a very distinct logo where it's like this very, like, I don't even know. It's like a Japanese character, but then there's like so many god rays coming off of it. It's kind of awesome. And I'm like, oh, that's the Godzilla studio. But Rodan is infinitely less interesting, and you can tell that they're cashing in. It's like, oh, Godzilla was popular. It was an international smash hit. So let's just do it again. But this time, it's not like a T-Rex or something like that. This time it's a pterodactyl. But because I know what you're thinking. How could a pterodactyl destroy a city? It's pretty small. Well, not like as small as like a pigeon, but reasonably small, like a vulture or something. Probably way bigger than that. I don't know anything about dinosaurs. But there's no way that a pterodactyl could wreak that much havoc in a, you know, 50s Japan. Well, actually, maybe they didn't have very many. They didn't have like a military or anything at that point, so maybe. But that's not the point. Um, but you have to take into account that this pterodactyl can travel at the speed of sound, like the speed of like a jet plane. I think that might have. I don't know. Did we crack the sound barrier in the 50s? Someone.
I
I don't know.
think it was the 60s.
Okay, so it was faster than any machine that man had made, which I guess is cool. And it was at least going fast enough to do like the chemtrail thing because it like spelled something out, if I remember right. Or maybe it didn't. Maybe I'm imagining that. I don't remember. I know that it was like flying in the sky and it had like a white trail behind it, like a plane does. And then like that kind of like took me out of the movie, and I spent 5 minutes researching why that happens. And like, could that happen if like a beast went that fast? Or does it have to do with like the metal and like the fuel? Turns out it does. It has something to do with the fuel burning at that atmosphere. I don't remember all the details, but I think if a pterodactyl did go that fast, then I think it wouldn't have that trail, but that's fine. But basically, it's just attacking planes, and I guess that's a pretty big issue. It would be a pretty big issue for Hayao Miyazaki because he loves his planes. But
That's
other than
true.
that, I don't know if it really matters. He
Yeah,
destroyed.
9/11 didn't happen yet, so they were fine.
Yeah, that's true. Planes barely existed. Like planes had only been a thing for like 30 years. And they're like, "Oh, they're destroying our planes. What are we going to do without planes?" It isn't like we lived like that before, like not that long ago. Oh no. But
Once you let it out of the box, it can't go back in.
I know. I know. It's like AI. You can't put AI back in the box. Maybe someone should make a pterodactyl that goes the speed of sound that could destroy AI.
It would be pretty cool.
I don't know how they would do that. It would have to be a digital pterodactyl.
Oh, I want a real one.
That's true. That's true. I did see that some scientists found a preserved woolly mammoth, and it was
That's
like
true.
it was so preserved that like its brain was intact,
We'll
which
make
is
the
kind of
woolly
crazy.
mammoth go the speed of sound.
Well, I don't know. I'd like to see an elephant run that fast. I don't know how fast they go. Like a galloping elephant. I don't, that'd be interesting. But what I will say, because before we get to the pterodactyl's barely in the movie too. Well, I don't know why. It's like, oh, come see Rodan. The thing that's drawing you to the movie. He's in the last 20 minutes. The rest of it is like a drama about miners. Not like kids, like coal miners. Because I think they were like, oh, Godzilla had a political message where like Americans dropping nuclear bombs is a bad thing.
What?
I know, it's shocking. Uh let's okay, well, we have to do something similar. We have to do the same thing. So it has to have a political or like I don't know, like a critique of humanity. Uh, so what do we do now? Oh, what if just a bunch of coal miners dig too deep and uncover not pterodactyl eggs, because that would be too silly. What they find are larvae for prehistoric dragonflies. But this is what I like about this movie, and I was kind of into it like the first 40 minutes or so because and it's something I never really thought about. But when we think of like monsters, at least here in America, a lot of like our monsters are very like rooted in European mythology and are depicted as us in European kind of civilizations are familiar with, you know? Like Dracula's this count that lives in a medieval castle. Frankenstein is in a castle. You know, it's all very kind of Eurocentric. But what I loved about this, felt so unique because I know that like the dragon kind of suits, like that would be in like a parade where like 8 people are in a dragon thing. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I know that's technically Chinese. I think it's Chinese. I'm like
Yeah.
99% sure. Okay. I know that that's Chinese, but they were doing something similar with the larva for the dragonflies. And I'm like, that's so cool. Like, that's something I never thought about. Where it's like, how would different cultures portray their like ideas, like mythology for monsters? I'm like, that's really neat. That they're like doing the same kind of thing that like would be in one of those dragon suits, but instead it's like 3 people operating like a larva for a dragonfly. I'm like, that's so neat. That's cool. I'm like, but they don't have wings. Well, this is a movie about a pterodactyl, I thought. Why are the main monsters these weird dragonfly larvae that go the speed of 3 people in a suit? So like 2 or 3 miles an hour. That's not very threatening. And yes, somehow they keep killing people. We never see it because I think it would be pretty. I think everyone would know that it would be pretty realistic if they showed it. but just dead people just show up. And they're like, oh, it's those damn dragonfly larvae. But you have to understand that the larvae are only there to set up the real beast, two pterodactyls. Because the pterodactyls wake up because of global warming, which I think is like, I don't want to say it's like a real thing, but like because the ecology whatever is changing, the whatever the climate is changing, like species have changed and like timing for like hatching and stuff has changed. I don't know if like a dinosaur egg will hatch because it's hotter. I don't think so. That'd be pretty cool though. Or maybe it wouldn't. I don't know. I don't care. We'll see. Um, but yeah, I guess it wakes up and then the pterodactyls they eat the dragonfly larva and that makes them grow really fast. So that's why they were there. And that now it all makes sense. And then the rest of the movie's really, really boring, where it's like a bunch of people sitting in a room being like, how are we going to kill these pterodactyls? They suck. They keep killing our planes. They've killed 2 planes. It's the end of the world. It isn't like Godzilla like going through Tokyo, blasting his laser through a bunch of like buildings. Like this is so low scale, which I guess is kind of quaint, but it's also like, why am I here? This is like, why are a bunch of military people like really like, oh, what are we gonna do about these pterodactyls? They're barely killing people. Mostly they're just chilling in a mountainside. Sometimes they kill some cows because they're hungry, but like so do wolves. Which actually I don't know. They might not have wolves in Japan. I don't think they do. I think they get foxes. I don't think they have wolves. So maybe that is pretty scary, having your livestock killed like that. So I guess it's an issue. But the only interesting thing about this movie is that how they kill them is that they lure the 2 pterodactyls over to a volcano, and somehow they get the volcano to erupt. And you may be asking yourself, well, these things can fly. Why would they get killed by a volcano erupting? Because it isn't like, in the movies usually. It isn't just like this giant eruption that goes up like lava. There's like ash will like go up like that, but like it isn't like a giant lava like pillar shooting into the sky. Flying things really should have no issue. Just like, oh, the volcano's erupting and then just flying away, especially if they can go the speed of sound, which has been established in this film. So, how does a volcano erupting kill the pterodactyls? Well, you may be surprised to know that the volcano erupts, and as you might think, they fly up out of the way of the volcano, and that's in that point of the movie. I'm like, oh, so they're just not gonna kill them. Like the whole point of like the last half of this movie is trying to kill them, and the big climax is that they fail. That's weird. And then they like the pterodactyls are kind of floating above it, and then for absolutely no reason, the pterodactyls nosedive into the lava and kill themselves. That's how you solve the problem. I think someone in the writer's room was like, as they were coming up with this idea, it's like, oh, this is awesome. We're going to have a volcano erupt. And then one guy was like, wait, wouldn't they fly away? And then they had to quickly change it. That's my fan theory about the making of Rodan. Because why would the pterodactyls kill themselves? It makes no sense. Uh, and it looks weird and stupid as they're doing it. So basically, what I'm saying is that Rodan is probably worse than King Kong, but marginally. And I think the dragonfly larva won a lot of points in my eyes because that was pretty cool. But aside from that, that's it for big monster movies. I'm going to I don't know if I'm going to breeze through these next 2. I don't know how much I'm going to have to say because these are 2 good movies. And as we know, good movies are hard to talk about. Um, so I will do my best. But I will say I'm late to the party. I did see Oppenheimer. Hooray! Everybody
Yay.
clap. Oppenheimer is the best movie of last year. I didn't see it in protest because I hate Christopher Nolan as a human being. I don't I don't know about that. I disagree with him on his takes on the movie industry, and specifically theaters. So I was like, I'm done. I don't want to see his new movie, and I don't care if it's the best movie of all time. I am going to sit this one out. And that's what I did. I did a similar thing for Tenet, but that one just didn't look good. So I just didn't see that one either way. But I did it in protest. I stuck to my values for about a year. And then my grandpa was like, "Hey, do you want to watch Oppenheimer with me?" And I said, "Okay. For you, I will break my values and watch Oppenheimer." And I'm gonna be honest. I was going in. I, I disagree with Christopher Nolan on pretty much everything. I will say that he is probably one of the best directors working in Hollywood right now. Pretty much everything he makes is a slam dunk masterpiece. So I was not going into this movie expecting to hate it. In fact, I was going in expecting to like it, at least as much as I could like a biopic, because at this point I am tired of them. Um, but I was just like kind of mid on it. I wasn't. There were things I liked about it. There was things I didn't really like about it. I think that the acting in general was pretty good. I don't understand how Robert Downey Jr. won an Oscar for that movie. Frankly, it doesn't make much sense. He's barely in it. And he's like mostly at the end, but he isn't given a whole lot to work with. Like, he's an important role in the movie. But, like, in terms of acting, and I don't say this lightly, I think there's better acting that he does in the Marvel movies than he does in Oppenheimer, which may be blasphemous to say, but I don't care. And I'm going to say it. And I'm not even a Marvel fanboy. In fact, I don't really like Marvel at all right now. So that's how you know I mean what I'm saying. But I think Killian Murphy was great in it. He's a very distinct way of acting, which is he does a lot with his eyes. He's very expressive in the top half of his face. Um, yeah, it's interesting. He's a very interesting performer. And I get why Christopher Nolan kind of globs onto him and it's like, I'm gonna put you in everything. Because there is a very interesting way that he kind of delivers lines. I will say that doesn't make him really versatile. Pretty much in everything I've seen him in, he's kind of one note, but that one note is pretty good. So, not disappointed in that at all. Um, so, yeah, I will say I don't know if I have a whole lot to say about it. Like, I will say that, like, the people were talking about this movie like it was like raising these like grand like questions about like like not even the meaning of life, just like big questions that this movie brought up. And I've seen a lot of like socially conscious movies, a lot of movies that do bring up big questions. A lot of them are sci-fi movies, at least the ones that I've seen recently. And I love those movies. And in fact, I think that those are the best movies. Movies that have something to say are way more interesting than something like I was gonna say like King Kong, but I worry that King Kong did have something to say. It was just racist. So maybe that's a bad example, but it's more. I'll say it's more exciting than something like a Despicable Me 3 that really has absolutely nothing to say. It's just colors to distract children for an hour and a half. So like, and that was kind of what I was going in. The questions, like the big things that the movie has to say, are so like basic, where it's like, maybe making the nuke was a bad thing. Like, yeah, probably. Maybe using it on civilians was bad, and Oppenheimer had to reckon with that. It's like, yeah, I don't think I needed a movie to say that, you know. Or like, hey, maybe witch hunting people was bad, and I'm like, the Crucible did it better, and it's like it's doing the same thing, except the Crucible is to like what McCarthyism is to today. You know what I'm saying? It's like we're using this historical thing to talk about something that's happening in real life. It's kind of interesting how it comes full circle like that. Um, it's like, okay, I get it. I didn't really come away from the movie like having this feeling that like, oh, something about like real life has like how I view real life has changed. And I've seen a lot of movies that do that. It was like, wow, that's given me a new perspective, a new way to look at this specific topic that the movie is covering. Um, and people were talking about it like it was. And maybe that's my fault for listening to them and going in with those expectations. Um, Maybe I should have seen it when it came out, and maybe I would have liked it a lot more. But I don't know. It's just like it's a pretty good movie. Visually, it's pretty good. Acting wise, it's pretty G dang good. Um, I don't know. It was fine. And I don't understand why people were freaking out about the nudity in that movie. It's barely a thing. But people were talking about that like it was the end of the world. And okay. Okay. Man, people are too sensitive. You can't even have booby in a movie no more. Am I right, fellas? Ho ho ho. Whatever. Okay, that's Oppenheimer. That's pretty much all I have to say about it. I'm not gonna go into the story because it's like 3.5 hours long or whatever. So doesn't really matter. Read a book about Oppenheimer, and it's pretty much the same thing. Um, yeah. I will say, I think American Splendor ruined every single biopic for me from here on out, because that movie, like, feels like a movie that needed to be made. And it was told in a way that was, like, really interesting and different for a biopic. And now every single biopic I see now where it follows the same beats and it's told the same exact way, I'm just so tired of it. Like, come on, do something different. But everyone is like, they treat their biopic subjects like they're Jesus. It's like, unless it's Passion of the Christ, shouldn't do that. Am I? Whatever. Martin Scorsese's making a Jesus movie too, so I guess, which I think he already did, but I guess he's making another one. So, there's 4 books, so I guess, he can make 4 Jesus movies, each from a different apostle's view. Well, technically, he could do 12. I don't think he has 12 more movies in him. I'm being honest. He's old. Um, but yeah, the other, I guess I'll say good movie I saw was on the waterfront. I think it's on the waterfront. Or is it at the water? Yeah, it's on the waterfront. Yeah, very. This one is also one that is very highly regarded. 1954. It has Marlon Brando in it. I think that like before The Godfather came out, this is what everyone thought of when they thought of Brando, and everyone's heard the like, I could have been a contender, I could have been a good guy or whatever. Like everybody knows that. That's from this movie. Um, and I think the movie is kind of interesting. I don't know if it's like one of the best I've ever seen. In fact, there are some aspects of it that I downright hate, but I think the like core of it is really interesting. where it's kind of a movie about, I guess it's about organized crime, but I'm always a fan of movies that take a blue collar perspective, especially like this movie takes place. All of the main characters are dock workers. I don't even know if it's even said what city they're in. It's just, it could be any dock in any American city. You're going to find this eclectic group of people. Um, and that's kind of interesting. They're kind of wrestling with their union, which has been taken over by a bunch of like corrupt people that are basically skimming a bunch off the top. They're choosing who gets to work, and it's only the people that are pro this like corrupt institution. And basically, it's about a bunch of the citizens are kind of banding together, trying to fight them. I will say, I'm not sure if this movie is anti-union as much as it is anti-organized crime. I think it's actually pro-union. There's a lot of like stuff in it that's like, well, any union that's worth its spit would be able to get you guys working every day. And they're like, oh, well, not since Johnny Friendly, which is actually the bad guy's name, not since Johnny Friendly took over. And that's they're like, oh, we need to get to the bottom of this. I will say it is also, it is like way, there's too much Christ imagery, which maybe we'll get into. But Marlon Brando's kind of this in between where his brother works for the organized crime. He's like the right hand man to Johnny Friendly, but he's fallen in love with kind of the lady who's taken charge of the citizens that want to overthrow this evil organization. So it's kind of told from an interesting perspective, where it's a guy who's torn, especially since like he has a history with Johnny Friendly. Johnny Friendly like sponsored his boxing career, um, which he ended up like having to throw a fight, and it kind of ruined his career. So now he's kind of a bum. Um, but that's kind of the crux of the story. It's this conflict that's brewing in him, and also a conflict, a greater conflict that the whole town is kind of encroached in, where it's this guy who is kind of evil, skeezy, holding on to power while everybody basically wants him out so that they can have an equal shot. And I think that's cool. It's a cool little representation of the little guy banding together and taking over the evil institution. Hey, everyone loves it. Um, I will say the romance that I brought up, in theory, is pretty, it's okay. I don't know if that's what I would have had, where he's falling in love. I would have had it be like his wife or his girlfriend. I would like cut out the romance part of it because, as I said in King Kong, it's unnecessary and takes away from the story that you're trying to tell. So, uh, and the romance is really, really unbelievable. If the romance in King Kong is unbelievable, then this is like uh way, way, way worse. Because the beginning of the movie, Marlon Brando essentially gets this guy killed. Um, there's this guy, basically, the mob tells him, hey, can you get this guy to go up on the roof? He's like threatening to testify, so we're gonna kind of rough him up to make sure that he doesn't talk. They end up killing him and throwing him off the building. Marlon Brando didn't know that was what was gonna happen, but he doesn't really, it doesn't really affect him. But the girl that he's falling in love with is that guy's sister. And so that's why it's kind of become this personal crusade where she wants to find out who killed him and bring them to justice. And at one point, Marlon Brando tells her that he was kind of responsible for her brother dying. And she like, starts like freaking out at first. And then she's like, get away from me. And they're like outside. And then she's like, whatever, I'm just going to go home. And she goes home, and Marlon Brando's banging on her door, and he ends up breaking her door down. And she's like, "Stay away from me. I want nothing to do with you. You killed my brother." Like, yeah, I'm not going to, like, obviously we're done. And if you like get near me, I'm going to freak out. And he's like, "Nah, you love me." And then he just starts forcefully kissing her. And then eventually she just gives in and is like, "Oh, you're right. I love you." And I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. I don't think anyone who wrote this movie has ever been in a healthy relationship in their life. I mean, it was the 50s. You could legally beat your wife, and that's fine. So who knows? Maybe this was accurate to the times. But man, as a person in modern day, this was just downright uncomfortable. And yeah, it's pretty g dang unbelievable that she would fall for him, especially especially after he breaks her door down and assaults her. Like, are you kidding me? That doesn't make any sense. Especially like her characterization is this kind of strong, independent, like woman who's like taking charge. It's like goes against all of her characterization to like fall for this dude who's at least partly responsible for her brother dying. So weird, so out of place. Um, and but I will say that's just one scene. The rest of the movie's really interesting, where it is this push and pull. And at the end, it is just like the town kind of banding together against this guy, and that's really cool to see. Um, it's like, oh, what's that movie about the miners? A different movie about miners. Geez, I watched it in one of my history classes. Now I don't remember what it's called. It's like a famous. You probably know the circumstances because it was like a mining town and they had like a town store, and then it was like the workers rose up against the company, and then it was like, uh,
Was it like a company town situation?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I don't
But
remember what the name of it is.
yeah, but you know what I'm talking about. It's a movie
Yes.
about that, and it kind of has that feel. But I like that movie more because it's way more focused on like the specifics. It's focused on the conflict, which is what you want, and it has James Earl Jones in it. That's pretty cool. So watch Untitled Mining Movie. I don't remember. I could dig through my letterbox and try to find it, but there, I I don't know. I'm not going to be able to do that. Um, but that's it. Those are all the movies that I watched this week. I've been wanting to watch The Boys. Um, I don't know when I'm going to get to it. We will be talking about Smiling Friends next week. Probably won't have a whole lot to say because there's not a whole lot to break down in that show. But the season is over. I just haven't finished it yet. I have one more episode. Um, so we'll talk about that. And we also have a Boy Time Presents, which will be coming out soon. I know we're riding the coattails of
Oh
the
my
last
god.
one, but we're going to be talking about the Fallout show, uh, and maybe a little bit about Fallout just as a series, because I imagine that's probably going to come up. Um,
Maybe.
yeah, we'll see. Um, so that'll be coming out, and I'm going to pitch you live on what our next one should be, because I know we're both
Okay.
playing Cyberpunk. I think we
We
should do
are.
a present on that one.
I'd be down. I might buy Phantom Liberty, so
Okay,
because
so
I've
we'll
heard it's
see.
very good.
I have heard good things as well, but I think that could be interesting because I imagine we have different opinions on the game. So,
Yeah, probably.
so we will do that, and that will be fun and cool. But that's all I have. I'm going to throw it on over to Babby for his segment of the show.
Okay. We have 2 weeks of stuff to go through.
Yeah.
I will go through news and hope I don't forget anything. Um, what do we got? What do we got? What do we got? Um, this thing just popped up. There's a Sophie posthumous album coming out.
Yeah. I
I
saw
think
that.
this just got announced today.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know the circumstances of how this is being released. So interesting. Um, I hope it is respectful. Most of these things are not.
Yeah.
I don't know any of the backstory related to this, but I will dig into that a little bit more. Yeah, I think the XXX Tentacion thing has left a sour
Yeah.
taste in my mouth when it comes to literally every other artist. I think Juice World
That and
was
juice. Yeah, I was
a
gonna bring
victim of
up.
this too,
Yeah.
of just recycled garbage. I don't think this will be that. I feel like Sophie had enough collaborators and everything around her that this would be a very respectful tribute, but I also don't know how much of this is her and how much of this is getting finished by other people. Um, but it's slated for September, so
Oh.
it's coming. I think there was a single. Obviously, I haven't listened to it because I just found out about this like 15 minutes ago. Um, but I will talk about that next week probably. Um, but yeah, I will wait for people that are more knowledgeable in this area to tell me what is going on with this. So, but it is a thing.
Yes.
Um, Same kind of area. Charlie released a "Girl So Confusing" remix with Lord. It's
Oh.
pretty good. I think I like the original more though. Um, the original being so fantastic. Actually, it's so addictive. Um, you have this 6'1" straight 24-year-old man saying like screaming "girl" every time in the car when this thing comes on. It's such a good song. Uh, Brad is still fantastic. Yeah, that happened. Pretty cool. Um, we got a new Peggy single.
What?
Don't Rely on Other Men. Album coming soon. He's starting the rollout officially.
Oh.
Um, yeah, this one's got Freaky on it. Uh, it's cool. It's not like it did. It does not have the oomph that something like Hazard Day Pay or Hazard Duty Pay had when the LP rollout started.
Yeah.
Um, but it's still pretty good. It has a definitely a little bit more industrial and like almost rock angle to it, which is kind of cool. Um, I'd be interested to see how Peggy does with this record. I feel like there's been a little bit of a hit to him after the whole Kanye thing earlier this year. Um,
Mm.
it'll be interesting to see where he goes from here, especially since like he didn't really do anything for that Kanye record that like was noticeable too much. And that Kanye record is one of the worst things I've heard in my life. So whatever. Um, but I think I will still definitely be interested in this thing. It's something where like now we kind of get to see Peggy the villain a little bit,
Mm.
for real villain, and like that he pissed off a lot of fans. So it'll be interesting to see the angle he takes. I think he really can play into that like really annoying bad guy kind of energy in
Yeah.
a way that makes the music cool. Um, because he is pretty online and he is very loud and he is very bodacious, and I like that. So, as long as he speaks with his chest, I don't have an issue.
Yeah.
I don't like the whole Kanye thing because it goes against most of the stuff he talked about in his earlier music. Um, but at the same time, I kind of knew that that was more of a play than anything real anyway, so I wasn't as surprised. But he can play into this, and I'll be okay with it. So, but
Yeah.
it is a pretty solid track. So I'm excited to see what this album looks like. But I'd imagine it be coming out within the next couple of months. Usually, when he does this, he's pretty quick on the trigger to get this thing out. Um, yeah, it's a good single. Um, I think that was most of the news, unless I'm forgetting anything. We just did the No Worries record, so
Very
that'll
good.
be up on the channel this week. Fantastic. Um, I don't think there's anything else. There's probably stuff coming out this week. I've been lacking on looking at when things are coming out. I've been kind of just like letting them hit and being like, okay, this is out now. I can do this.
Mm.
Um, I think the Aphex Twin Selected Ambient Works Volume 2 is coming out in October. That was announced as well, with a gigantic box set and everything else. So that'll be pretty sick. Um, Excited for that. I haven't listened to Aphex Twin in a while, so I should probably get back into that. Um, but I think the one of the big things that happened last week was the Kendrick pop out concert.
Yes.
Did Juneteenth pop out concert. We could talk a little bit about it. I don't know if we have too much to say. It was a pretty entertaining and fun live stream. Uh, I think I didn't like watch the whole thing. I started with like when Mustard was doing his set because Mustard had a pretty good set. He had like Roddy Rich, he had Tyler, he had YG, he had old Nipsey Hussle segment.
Oh,
Um, a lot of throwback stuff. Like it was kind of weirdly nostalgic. I feel like Mustard had a quite a run in the 2010s, and that was like when I was first getting introduced to hip hop. So a lot of the YG beats and everything were like, "Ooh, this takes me back." Um, it was really fun. But yeah, then we had the Kendrick portion of it. I was interested to see what this was going to be about. I was half expecting like an album rollout. I kind of am fine with it not being one. I think he's still kind of in this moment right now.
yeah.
But I'm still predicting we're getting an album this year. Obviously, I think it would be weird if we didn't.
Hmm.
Um, but he started with Euphoria, which is great. I think that immediately was my main question: is how many like how is he gonna do this set list, and what's the vibe gonna be? I think Euphoria set the tone immediately. Um, I would have been very jealous if we did not see Kendrick in concert because I think the track list he had when we saw him was like pretty perfect. Like I saw everything that I wanted to see. So it was cool seeing it on Amazon, but I'm like, I did this in person and it was pretty sick. Um, but the track list was pretty great. Um, it's funny too because he did a lot of tracks where people were like, when they came out, like wondering if these were Drake disses or not. And then he kind of confirmed it with a lot of them. A lot of the Damn stuff is, we kind of knew about that.
Yeah.
But just kind of going through, it seemed like this entire track list was like shots constantly. Um, but it was just a huge celebration. It was great. It was funny. It was just like we got the entirety of Black Hippie on stage. They didn't do any song or anything. I mean, they did that part, but they didn't do the Black Hippie remix of that part, which was a little weird. But that's fine. I think Absol is still recovering from all of his stuff, so I don't think he was really there to perform. He was just kind of there. But I am surprised he was even there. Um, but we got the entirety of TDE and everything up there. Um, I think Whitney and everything was in the stands. We had Dave Free up there. It was great. It was fantastic. It was a lot of fun. We had Dr. Dre up there for a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but then the ending obviously was not like us 5 times, which I knew he was gonna do it multiple times. I feel like that is just like that's what you do. um,
It's fair.
I don't know. I think that was like one of the first things people were like thinking when this was announced was like it's gonna be not like us like 17 times in a row. I think the first thing I thought of was when Kanye and Jay Z did the funny Paris song in Paris, and they did it like 10 times in a row live. It was like 40 minutes of just that song. That's the first
Oh
thing I
man.
thought of. I'm like, they're gonna do that, and they did. But then he got everybody on stage from like every single section and gang in the
Hmm.
city, which is unheard of. Um, it's just shows the power of what they're doing there, and yeah, it was pretty phenomenal as a Juneteenth celebration. It was very touching. I think that was all unscripted too. Like I don't think the playing Not Like Us that many times and bringing everybody on stage was scripted at all. Um, I mean, which makes sense because it took a while for them to get up there and everything.
Yeah.
But still pretty incredible. I'm glad that it was like a moment to really highlight the unity that can be held in the city and everything like that. During a concert where you could have just gone like full into the Drake hate and like album rollout, but I'm glad he added this kind of message into it,
Hmm.
which is very on brand. Yeah, it was a really special concert. And I love having events like this again. I feel like we haven't had like events or moments like this where everybody's kind of tuning in. It's been kind of dead for a couple of years.
Yeah. At least
So I'm
since
glad
like the
something like this
Donda
popped up.
rollout.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the Donda rollout was disappointment for most of it because people had to wait for like 3 hours and there was three
Oh.
separate listening parties. But it's
Yeah,
like,
that's true.
yeah, it was still a fun time. It was a really exciting time, but I think this was more satisfying overall. Um, but yeah, I think this was like the highest watched Amazon Music thing that they've done so far too. Um, which I think the Kanye and Drake one was an Amazon Music thing too. I think they started doing that with Donda, and then people started doing those more. Um, but yeah, it was really great. I enjoyed it a lot. It was a lot of fun. They are also shooting a Not Like Us music video. They did that this past weekend, so that should be
Yeah.
coming out in a couple of weeks, I would think. Um, so things are happening. I do think he should probably stay outside for a while and do an album rollout. I do think there should be something coming soon. I want
Yeah.
like a mixtape or like something. I don't know. I
Untitled,
don't want to say like
unmastered.
yeah. I don't want to say like not conceptual because there's always gonna be some kind of theme in his music. But I want something fun. I want just like
Yeah, I agree.
raps and beats. I think it could be a nice kind of bridged into whatever he's planning for the next 7 years or however long it's going to take to get another full length album.
Yeah.
But yeah, very good. I think I forgot to mention one record that's coming out. Um, there's a new Post Malone album, I think.
Oh, I saw that he did a song with Blake Shelton.
Yeah, yeah. So there's a new Post Malone album.
Man,
It's
he's
going to be
really
a country
dropping.
album, I think.
Oh,
Um, yeah, I think I just wanted to talk about Post Malone more than I wanted to talk about the music of it. Uh,
okay.
I don't know if I care about Post Malone at all anymore.
Yeah, that's
Um,
fair. I don't really either.
yeah, I I think I don't like this, white boy coming up in hip hop and then phasing out of hip hop into like generic pop music or singer songwriter or something like along those lines.
Yeah.
I think it's really weird because like Machine Gun Kelly did the same thing and other artists like that. Um, it just feels weird and very disingenuous to like the genre that you were like coming up in. I think Post was pretty respectful to the hip hop genre, but it's like it's so sad seeing the person that made Beer Bongs and Bentley like appealing to like 40-year-old white women that like listen to Blake Shelton and like Luke Combs and all that. It
Yeah.
just feels really odd. Like because Post Malone is a very cool dude. I just don't like the kind of white boy country like twist
Yeah, I
here.
don't either.
I didn't like his self-titled either, which was like more straight up pop music. I didn't listen to that record, but like that's kind of the vibe that one gives off. Um, I don't know. It feels strange, and I don't think this has happened to an artist that I've actually like enjoyed music in the past.
Mm.
So it's a weird feeling where it's like this does not feel like the same person at all anymore. But
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
yeah.
But yeah, I think did he see like the jelly roll thing? And like, oh, maybe there's a lane for me here.
Potentially.
Because like Jelly Roll was like, isn't he like Post Malone but country?
I think so.
But
I
he
feel like
has
there's a lot of people like Post Malone in country because country has been stealing from like hip hop antics for the past decade,
well,
which
yeah,
also feels weird because they're like using 808s and stuff in country music, and
yeah, I don't like that at
it's
all.
strange. Yeah, I don't know. Just wanted to bring it up
Yeah, it's weird.
because I saw that on my feed. I'm like, ooh,
Another one.
uh,
He's like dropping an
another
album
one.
every year.
Yeah,
So weird.
yeah. I think with 12 Karat Toothache, I kind of knew it was done, but it was just like there's a little bit of hope out there that he was gonna do something fun. Um, but oh well,
Yeah,
there will be other artists.
that's
Um,
fine.
but yeah, that was just interesting. When it comes to new records, oh, there's a new Action Bronson song as well. Sega, fantastic. Um, I don't know if we have a release date for that album yet. Um, there might be actually, but he is doing a kind of like music video series with this. There's a storyline going between the two singles so far.
Mm.
Um, just a classic cops and robbers situation almost. Um,
Oh,
yeah, so it's fun. The music videos are fun. The music's quirked up as usual. It's Action Bronson, so if you've heard one Action Bronson song, you've heard them all. That's not a bad thing. But yeah, the album is Johann Sebastian Baklava, the Doctor.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So it comes out this year. We don't know when, but I am enjoying the music video saga. I always like when reminded me of the weekend a little bit. I'm like, I love the little storylines through the music videos. I feel like nowadays there's no excuse for you not to go hard on music videos like that. Video content is up. Like it's the popular thing, especially dudes with budgets like this. And Action Bronson's already so creative and funny and like just effortlessly like charismatic that like doing something like this is like right up his alley. So I'm enjoying the music videos more than I am the actual music. So, but they're fun.
Okay.
Okay. I think it's just Mount Erie from now on out. I think that's all I listened to that was new. Um, I did buy Joanna Newsom's East on vinyl,
Hmm.
so I'm gonna listen to that because it's not on Spotify. Um, but I bought the vinyl because the vinyl has a storybook in it with all the lyrics, and it is all old timey with like kind of a opening of Shrek style drawings and lyrics, and it's a little flip book, so I can read along as I listen to it.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
so I'll be talking about that next week. Yeah, I bought two records that I have not heard before. I'm getting into
What?
that zone. So, um, but yeah, I will talk about that next week. I was gonna do it this week, but I just never got around to it. Yeah, let's dive into our deep dive,
Ho
if you
ho
will.
ho.
I got four. I think I got four. Yes,
I
I
don't
can
know.
count. Um, we'll start with Clear Moon. We're picking up with Clear Moon 2012. We ended last time with Wind's Poem, which was 2009. Um, Clear Moon is kind of like that record, just flipped on its head. It is still drony, it's still a little bit ambient. But I think we get rid of all the black metal and we enter a lot more dream pop area, which is really cool. This whole thing, I mean, the last record had a Twin Peaks song on it, but this whole thing kind of has this hazy, mysterious dreaminess that Twin Peaks has for its score. Um, but yeah, this record is fantastic. Again, uh, it's very, very floaty. It's very ethereal. Um, I'm getting such a wide range of styles and stuff that I was expecting not as much of that. I felt like, okay, he's a mainly folk artist. I'm gonna get a lot of folk records, but there is a wide range in the ones I've been listening to the past couple of weeks, which is really exciting. But Clear Moon is fantastic. I think it starts with Through the Trees Part Two, which is glorious. I don't think it's as good as the first part, but like it's still really good. Um, he plays a lot more with percussion and cymbals and reverb on these. I think these are the records that he made in that kind of church studio that I was talking about a couple weeks ago because just the natural reverb, especially on the percussion, is just really, really, really cool. You still get a lot of drone, but it sounds very natural and like just feels great. Um, I think the place I live is fantastic. You have these like really cool synth hits and cymbals. It's like kind of sharp and a little bit rough, but at the same time, it's super ethereal. Just the textures and everything on this thing are really, really fantastic. I think House Shape is the most unique one. It's got like a dance beat underneath it, which is really, really, really cool. It's got this driving like synth pop dance beat almost. Um, that like gripped me right away because I'm like, this is so different than everything else I've heard from him. Um, but yeah, it's a fantastic record. I think Yawning Sky and Synthesizer end it really, really nicely too. Um, it's a very floaty, calming album, which is such a good point to have in this discography that has been pretty. I don't want to say depressing, but like it is definitely a little bit more down tempo on most of these. So having something a little bit more like clear focused and like just floaty was really nice. So yeah, that one's great. I still think I like Wind's Poem a little bit more. I feel like it's more consistent. There's more tracks on it that are like reach higher peaks for me. But they're both like really, really nice, like package deal. Um, and I'm gonna call it an unofficial trilogy because Ocean Roar came out. That's the next one. I think like a couple months later after Clear Moon. Um, I think it makes sense as an unofficial trilogy. We have Wind's Poem, Clear Moon, and Ocean Roar. That sounds like a package to me. Um, and I think the styles definitely fit into like a little trilogy of different nature themes because Wind's Poem is definitely like it has the destructive power of wind, but it also has just like the peace and like slight noisiness of wind, and it is very flowy and smooth. And then Clear Moon has a little bit more abrasiveness, but it's also incredibly airy and more atmospheric. And then Ocean Roar is his post rock record. So it is striking and loud and repetitive. I think it feels pretty much like one gigantic song, which makes sense. It's 38 minutes, so it's pretty good length. I think this is the one that I need to like go back to the most. I feel like when I heard this record, I was having one of those days where like all the music was just like not hitting the way it needed to. Sometimes if I go to a new record too fast, that'll happen. Um, but I've gone back to it since, and I think Pale Lights, the opener, is just really, really, really good. I think in terms of post rock, it definitely like I feel like it borrows from Boris a little bit, um, especially Flood, which is interesting because both the records are almost the same thing. Um, but I think his skills as a drummer and a percussionist on like the last two records have really been coming out. I think he was a drummer first before he learned a lot of other instruments. But the way he's playing with cymbals and things like that on here is just really, really, really cool. Pale Lights opens and it's like it feels like crashing waves. It is very, very intense. And he like fades out the song and does like lyrics during the middle of it and then fades back in the song. It's really, really weird. But it's another pretty good record in the discography. I need to like listen to this one a lot more. I feel like this one just hasn't hit me too hard yet. But the first couple tracks are definitely really great. Um, yeah, those are the main ones I did
Mm.
because we're getting to a point now where I can start doing all the little weird ones that aren't on the main path. Because we have Pre-Human Ideas from 2013 and we have Sauna from 2015, and then we're back up to Crow, and then I think I just have Lost Wisdom Part 2 after that. But I did a little like side mission, I guess.
Oh,
Um, there's a lot of records and stuff in here, so I listened to Song Islands Volume 2, and which is a compilation record from 2010. Um, it felt like a live kind of set, but it's not. It's just a compilation of a whole bunch of different stuff. So like we have some things on here that are from like Lost Wisdom and other records like that, and some that like I'm not sure where these songs are coming from, if they live on just this record exclusively or if they're from other records or not. But it is not recommend. It's like you definitely don't need it to get through this discography. It's an hour and 20 minutes. It's 31 songs. It's a cool breath of fresh air. It feels like it's like not a main record in that like it's a lot more loose, a lot more fun, a lot more I think like traditionally folky. Um, like there's some genuinely like kind of funny tongue-in-cheek songs in here, and there's also ones where it's like, ooh, this should be on a main record. I think "Where's My Tarp" is like my favorite record off of this one. That song is just really, really, really great. But we also have versions of like "Lost Wisdom" and "Grave Robbers" and stuff like that. So it's a cool compilation. I don't really know too much about this. I don't know why it exists or anything. I think Song Islands Volume One was a Microphones record, I think. Um, but it's still kind of a cool, cheeky record if you need something a little bit light. Because there's some cool little like, I think he mixes in a lot more like almost 70s, 60s kind of pop elements into some of these as well. And then some of them are like really, really messy demos. So it's pretty cool. And then the last one I got, this was Live in Bloomington, 2011. I think this is the only live record besides the Crow Looked at Me one that I talked about a couple weeks ago on Spotify. So I think there's more, but I don't think they're available for me to listen to anywhere. Um, but this one I was interested in because the set list of it was like really, really tight. I think especially going after the last couple of records for through Clear Moon. Um, so the track list on this one is great. I mean, House Shape, Between Two Mysteries, Ancient Questions, Carl Blau, No Inside, No Out. Like all of those are just phenomenal. Um, and the recording of this live album is actually really good too. Um, it's interesting because they do like an introduction song where they're like introducing the band, and like he has this dry humor that is very Joe Pera-ish that just kind of
mm.
opens. He's like, "Here's my name. Here's the band. We play music. We're gonna start playing now. Okay, here's the first song." And I'm like, this man is so cute. But yeah, a lot of these tracks are really good too. They're definitely more stripped back. He has a band with him, obviously, so the arrangements are a little bit different. Um, but again, it's just like a lighter kind of compilation of tracks, which I do enjoy. I think a lot of these records are very introspective or heavy or weird or off-putting sometimes. So I think doing these little compilations and live albums are good little breakups in here. But yeah, those are the ones I listened to this week. Getting close. We're almost done.
Uh-oh.
So I mean, I think there's like 61 total. I don't know if I'm gonna do like every little bit and piece. That's not necessarily something that's gonna enhance anything. Um, but I'll do Pre-Human Ideas, which is listed as a featured one on Album of the Year. I don't know if it's necessary because a lot of this is also different versions of songs that we've heard. But I'll give it a try anyways. And then Sauna, I think, is the last big one before the Crow Looked at Me area, and then Lost Wisdom Part 2. Um, so I think Sauna was also in a record pull in the made in the church. And I think it's going to be even more droney and atmospheric. So excited for that one. But yeah, at that point, then I just need Dawn and I need, um, well, it's Mount Erie from the microphones. That's what I need. And then I can do microphones in 2020 to wrap all of it up. So we're getting close. I'm gonna have to start making a main channel video soon,
Ooh.
which I think the hardest part is just starting the thinking on that. So, but that'll be coming this year. I've given myself a timeline of this year, so
Okay.
plenty of breathing room.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you'll still get your first thoughts and everything here, obviously. But a lot of this music is so hard to describe through words. I need like so many things to describe this stuff. But it's all been great, and I've been feeling really good about it. So yeah, that's I think all I've listened to. I've been jamming the No Worries album a lot because it is really good.
It is really good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's all
I'd
I got.
missed Anderson for sure.
Yes.
Oh.
I think he just announced a Malibu tour too, which is really weird because that
Wait,
record came
what?
out 10 years ago.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's weird. I would definitely go see him though.
Yes. I don't know where he's going. I did not look at the locations, but
Mm.
it's interesting. I feel like we don't see tours of albums that came out 10 years ago. And it's not even like
No.
a I don't even think it's like a look back on 10 years thing. It looks the same because like the album cover is literally the poster for it and everything. I'm like, this is weird.
Weird. Yeah, that's interesting. I know like the Eagles did like a Hotel California tour, but that was like 50 years of the album coming out
Right.
or whatever.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, that's weird. Huh. I think more artists should do that.
Yeah, I do enjoy that because like I like going to concerts when there's new material, but like sometimes the old material is really good.
Yeah,
And I think he's doing the entirety of Malibu, which is cool.
that is cool. I would love if Sufjan did a tour of that Carrie and Lowell set.
Yes.
That would be the
Be
dream.
fantastic.
I don't think it's ever gonna happen again, but that would be the dream, I think. I just need to see him live. I really hope. I
Yeah,
know
next time Sufjan's touring, we're doing it.
yeah, I know he's feeling better these days. He's out of the hospital. He's just living his life, promoting a musical,
Hmm.
promoting the deluxe set of Seven Swans, which I saw just got added to Spotify, which is
It
funny.
did.
Yeah.
Yes. We'll do
Uh,
it soon.
we'll do it soon. I got the vinyl, and it comes with the deluxe songs, but it's on like it's a single, but it's on like flimsy like plastic that's a
Oh,
square.
it's a plexi disc.
It's a plexi disc. Yeah, I've
I
never
have one of
seen
those
one
for
like
Black
that.
Midi. Yeah, I have one of those for Black Midi. It's really weird.
Like, what is this? I've never seen anything like this. Okay, I guess I'll take it. I haven't listened to the songs, but it's just one side is one song, one side is the other. So yeah, we'll get to it. It'll probably be the next one that I pick, so it'll be in like a month.
Yeah.
But that's
You
fine.
you got a gun to Sufjan, and I gotta get these two microphones records out of there.
Yeah. Wait, you have two on your list?
I got I got one Mount Erie album and I got one microphones on my list. So
Oh, okay.
I think one's a meh, one's a semi X, or maybe they're
No,
both
they're
mehs.
both
I don't know.
Miz.
Oh, okay.
That's okay. Well, yeah, next week I think our video on No Worries should be coming out. But then next week we're doing
Yes.
Lobby Sifri's Laughing, Crying, Loving, Lying. I think
That
that's the
sounds about right.
order. I'm very interested to see how you feel about it.
I'm
I'm
excited.
interested to see what I feel about it. I don't know. I mean, I do know. I I have very many mixed feelings about it. So it's almost a semi X for me, which means you're probably gonna love it. But
Yeah, maybe.
but yeah, I haven't been listening to much new stuff. I've been going back. I've been spinning Control. I've been spinning Titanic Rising. So I've
Mhm.
been going back and listening to some older stuff. Not older, but you know, stuff I haven't listened to in a while. And I've just been enjoying the summer, I guess. Not really. I don't like the heat,
I'm trying
but
to. It's been storming like every single day.
yeah, or it's like 103 degrees
Yeah.
outside or whatever. So
God gave me a new Anderson Paak album and then said, I'm gonna make it rain every day.
yeah, I'm surprised. I haven't been able to hear it, and it's raining right now, I think. So I guess that's good luck. You get two timers going off, but at least you can't hear the rain.
Yeah, that's true. Mine sucks because like the wind gets so drafty up here. There's just a whistle.
Oh, that sucks. I don't have that. Well, maybe I do. I don't know. I'm deaf. I I don't know. uh yeah, that's it. Next week is what is it? 12 Monkeys. Watch that. You'll have to rent it, or if you have Stars, you can watch it on Stars. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to rent it. So be prepared. I think it has 90s/2000s Brad Pitt in it. So if that's a draw for you, then it has Brad Pitt in it when he was a dreamboat edgelord. So come on. I know you want to see that. So tune in. Bye.